Olga, this story is moving incredibly quickly, minute by minute. Trying to assess what is happening on the ground, incredibly difficult. What is your assessment?
Right. So I think it's very important that negotiations are ongoing. I think it's very positive to see that Olaf Scholz went to Moscow today and that he was in Kiev, and that this press conference at least didn't seem as tense as it might have seen when other foreign politicians were visiting Moscow. So this is seeming like a potential for negotiations warming up and potentially Putin is in fact engaging in good faith. At the same time, although there are reports from the Russian side that troops are beginning to withdraw from some locations around the eastern border of Ukraine, we have no confirmation of that quite yet with independent sources. So we're waiting to see what happens.
Well, Olga, as we await that verification, if indeed we get it and there has been somewhat of a de-escalation, what will Vladimir Putin have accomplished?
It's very difficult to know exactly what Vladimir Putin's end goal is here or what he will have accomplished. I think the guessing game is ongoing. But if it did mean to bring Ukraine to the brink of further negotiations around the Minsk Accords, then perhaps that's what has been accomplished. But I'm a little bit more skeptical. I think this has only shown Putin that the West is far more united and able to coordinate their activities. And the Ukrainian president is actually showing a great deal of political brinksmanship and strength here.
You talk about the fact that Europe is united and the fact that the meeting today with the German Chancellor appeared to show some progress. The Germans have had to go quite a long way. They started at the beginning of the year much more reticent about their ability to change, their ability to manage the relationship with Russia. And I'm wondering how you think, how critical it has been that the Germans in particular have moved quite a long way in terms of their positioning. Vladimir Putin described the meeting today with Olaf Scholz as business-like. I thought that was quite interesting.
Well, yes, we know very well that Berlin and Moscow have a particularly close relationship when it comes to NATO allies, and that in the last few years, we all were looking to Berlin to be able to engage Moscow when things were at their worst. So whilst Olaf Scholz did not show that same capacity to publicly engage in at least discursive diplomacy in the first few weeks and months of this crisis, it was an incredibly welcome development to see him travel first to Kiev, importantly, and also to Moscow. So I do think we're seeing the beginnings of what Olaf Scholz's time as chancellor will look like, and specifically his Eastern and Russia-focused policy orientation.
Maybe we're watching Olaf Scholz's foreign policy take shape in real time, Olga. What about the Biden administration? Have they proven that they have indeed brought the U.S. back to the global stage, that they can be the global foreign policy leader, at least for the West?
I think Biden has been a leader on this, but it's very clear here that this is a coordinated and very well coordinated Western response. Each different NATO member, each different EU member here is working in unison. So, and they're coordinating who goes, who travels when, never leaving Kiev alone, constantly picking up the phones, constantly engaging in meetings. So I think, if anything, Biden has been able to show that he is able to coordinate the West, perhaps in a way that his predecessors have not been able to do.
Olga, there's a phrase, no plan survives contact with the enemy. If we were to see conflict, would that unity hold up?
Well, I hope so. And that would be the biggest challenge, of course, to the NATO alliance, to EU, and to every member state's resolve in standing up for the values that they indeed say they stand up for freedoms and liberties, and certainly sovereign integrity of states such as Ukraine, but also elsewhere around the world. So we would hope so. I think they
Yeah.
have done quite a bit. I think they have done much more than they did in 2014. And I think that has stabilized markets, that stabilized policymakers, that has also ensured Ukrainians that they're not alone.
Olga, that's what potential conflict could mean for the West. And again, we're only talking about potential here, as Russia has repeatedly denied any plans to take military action in Ukraine. If we do indeed see military action, if this devolves further, what would that mean for Vladimir Putin domestically at home?
Well, I think here, this is the thing that no one's talking about. Going into Ukraine, any Russian aggression, any Russian conflict in Ukraine is not supported by the Russian people. In fact, Putin's people are not with him on this whatsoever. Only 8% of the population would support such actions. Furthermore, with today's developments in the Duma of an attempt to pass a recognition of the independence of the DNR and LNR in the Donetsk and Luhansk occupied territories as independent republics, this is also not something supported by the general population. In fact, only 9%, according to the Russian election study headed by Bryn Rosenfeld at Cornell, shows that only 9% of the Russian population would support Russia supporting separatist action in Ukraine. And I think Putin knows this, and he is one to want to maintain his popularity at home. It has been a cornerstone of his leadership. So I think potentially, hopefully, this is coming across for him and inside the Kremlin.